First, I want to thank the people in this county for letting me have served on the Board of Supervisors for the years that I got to serve there. I know that if I'm fortunate, half the people agreed with what I did and the other half didn't. But I think the most important thing for a community is that we sit down and talk together about what we're trying to do. And you've heard us in our discourse tonight say, that's not what I meant, or this is what I meant, or put words in each other's mouth. And it's best to have that discourse before you get to the documentation and have some misunderstandings. I think that these people that put up E&G meant well and were trying to do something, but failed in the preparation of their language. In 2014, a person that I have disagreed with for many years, but served with him for a number of years on the Board of Supervisors, his name was Bill Center, and he in 2014 said both E&G were just wrong. They were just put together wrong. And I agree that there's just some major flaws in them that they're going to make them very problematic, are going to raise more problems than they're going to solve. Bill Center now has come out and says he supports E&G because our government in this county has been taken over by big development. Well, as I told you earlier, I've been here all my life. I was here before there was any land planning required by the state of California, and it's always been the same thing. But if big development hadn't come in here, I wonder where so many of the people that don't want more people to come would live. I wonder who would have built the systems of roads and the systems of water services that we have. So what we've got to do, instead of going to war over this and being the sore thumb in the whole state of California over its land use planning, we got to sit down together and talk about these things and find out what the right answer is. I did that with former Supervisor Ron Briggs. He wishes I hadn't said his name, but we worked with the authors of Measure Y to put that ballot measure on in 2008. But when they came to us, I said, no, we're not going to do a one-sided thing. So we got opponents and proponents together in the room and worked out Measure Y and accomplished what I think is a Measure Y that works for everybody. And it does its job, it's doing its job. The one problem we have is that in this process, we've spent more money. We spent nearly $600 million since 1992, I think it is, on Highway 50 instead of on our local roads. If I was going to fight for a change, that'd be one of the changes I wanted to see. Let the state build their own state highway. We can't build enough road to deliver people to Sacramento. And probably it's adverse to our own economic development to do that. It would keep people in this county buying in this county if we didn't have such a good road going to Sacramento. So I got a whole lot of notes that I could go on for an hour, but please, I'm sorry to tell you, I kind of like these people. I kind of like what I heard Dee say here earlier tonight. But the language in Measure E and Measure G is simply going to cause more problems that it will solve, and it will not stop the developer's application on the old golf course down here. It will not stop San Estino. It will not stop Marble Valley. It will not stop the Dixon Ranch. It won't stop them. That's the wrong approach. The vote's on the Board of Supervisors. And sitting down with people, I told my friend the other day, if I was the folks in El Dorado Hills, I'd get a group together and sit down and see what kind of an arrangement we could make with Parker on that property. Because otherwise, everybody's going to be in court forever. You're going to wind up paying attorneys more than the property's worth. So thank you for being here tonight, and I hope you go home and study this before you cast your vote.
So I heard what Jack said, and he's right. You know, talking is a great idea. The problem is is that the public's been going to meetings, being in front of the board. We've been talking, for Sandstino specifically, we actually had little mini meetings, big community meetings with the developer. We were talking, and we still have a project that's at least 6 times more dense than what the land is zoned for. And that's not what the people moved there for and bought into the community. So it is a great idea, but when the people that are living in an area and have bought into their community, your house is your biggest investment you make in your life usually. To have it being impacted by somebody that bought a piece of land or being impacted by your neighbor just doesn't sit well with most folks. And I don't know, and yeah, Bill Center, he did kind of intentionally ask for another an analytical report on this one, Measure E. This one was going to be in 2016 regardless because our timeline was kind of late. But he asked for this one because honestly, there were too many measures in 2014 on the ballot. And he kind of didn't want another one. And when you ask for an analytical report, it bumped it out, and here we are. And he's been watching it. The residents are not being heard. And the general plan update that we just went through, and it was finished in December of 2015, we showed up and we asked them not to do some of these amendments to the general plan. The environmental document, the analysis was flawed, and we showed them many times where the analysis was flawed, and the board went ahead and did overriding considerations and ignored us. And so that's in a lawsuit. The general plan update is in a lawsuit. So talking is a great idea, but you know what? When you're being ignored, this is the right of the people. You give the developers an inch, they're taking a mile, because El Dorado County is a beautiful place to live. There's only so many resources. So I agree with Steve's analysis, it needs to be managed and controlled.
I'd like to add just one last thing that I saw a saying that just seemed to apply so much. It says, don't cling to a mistake just because you spend a lot of time making it.
It's a two-way street.
That's great. I'd like to thank all of you. We can say thank you. Parting all out, I was a broadcaster at a little radio station up in Nevada City years ago for many years, and there was a guy up there whose name was Sada Shiv, and he told me that his name meant truth through the destruction of ignorance. So I hope in some way we've done a little bit of that here tonight. And you're all free to go. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you.